Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine on the 1st of June of 2025. Today we have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. Today, according to information we have, is the worst day for the Russian Federation since the beginning of the special military operation. Today, the Russians almost lost completely their logistic to the northeast of Ukraine in Bryansk and Kursk region, logistic that the Russians used to use to supply and support their forces in the Sumy region during Russian summer offensive operation. Today, during this Black Sunday, the Russians have almost completely lost their strategic aviation as a result of Ukrainian special operation. So let's start everything in discussing in details, and let's start from railways and trains. According to information we have, during the previous nights, some forces carry out a terrorist attack. This is exactly the way how the Russians classified those attacks. As for now, the Russians still haven't blamed Ukrainian side in this attack, but most of the sources reported that these attacks were carried out exactly by the Ukrainian forces. In this video, we can see the consequences of Ukrainian attacks. Several bridges were destroyed, and those attacks led to complete collapse of Russian logistics in the northeastern part of Ukraine. I'll remind you that currently the Russians are trying to advance in the area of Sumy, trying to get for as close as possible to the city of Sumy itself with the purpose to create a secure zone, but most likely now the Russians would be forced to change their plans. All bridges were destroyed in this area, and all these railways were moving in the direction of this area where the Russians continue their offensive operation. And right after, most likely, the Ukrainians finished with bridges and railways, we start receiving different reports from the most northern part of the Russian Federation, from the Murmansk region. Let's discuss this situation in details. Ukrainian sources began publishing these photos and these videos. Right exactly in this video, we can see an airfield in the Murmansk region in the vicinity of the settlement by the name of Olenigorsk, and we can see how Ukrainian drone was flying above this area and how Ukrainian drone was filming the damage that Ukrainians managed to deal as a result of special operation. As you can see from this video, several strategic aircrafts were destroyed as a result of FPV drone attack carried out by the Ukrainian special forces. In this video we can see the same picture but from another angle. In this moment, one strategical plane was damaged and destroyed. The drone was flying further in the direction of the next aircraft, but right before this drone managed to get this aircraft, the machine was also destroyed. In this video we can see the picture from another angle. So we see that the Ukrainians managed to carry out very specific special operation that led to almost complete collapse of Russian strategic aviation forces. Later, the Ukrainian sources gave their own comments regarding the situation. Let's discuss these articles in details. So this is the first article that was published by the Ukrainian Special Forces. A source in SBU confirmed to the BBC that Russian airfields were attacked by Ukrainian drones today. According to a BBC source in the SBU Special Forces of Ukraine, more than 40 military aircrafts were damaged, including A-50, 295 and 222 M3. The source says that the special operation was called WEB and was personally led by the head of the special service, Vasily Maluk. Note that the videos that are being distributed online show 4 burning military aircraft, but this video is from one airfield. So later we got another video, and this time video was published from the most eastern part of the Russian Federation, from the Irkutsk area. So this is the second airfield that was damaged and destroyed by Ukrainian forces. In this video we can see another Ukrainian drone that was flying above airfield, and we see lots of smoke and lots of fire anomalies. So this airfield was also damaged and destroyed by Ukrainians. When talking about this airfield, we haven't received even a single video where we can see let's say destroyed or burned aircrafts, but most likely a lot of them were destroyed. And later we got probably the most important video. This is the video I'm talking about. As you can see, this is a truck, and right exactly in this moment we can see how FPV drone left this truck and began attacking deep inside of the Irkutsk region. So basically, the Ukrainians attack Russian airfields online. So they use just the internet connection and trucks with a significant number of drones that came as close as possible to the Russian military base, and then they attacked Russian bases just with computer and nothing more. The most important thing is that all these airfields were damaged and destroyed, and the most important thing that Ukrainians used not just 2 or 3 trucks. The Ukrainians used probably even tens of trucks all over the entire of the Russian Federation, but according to information we have, just 2 attacks were successful in the Mursk region and in the Irkutsk region. When the Russian sources began spreading these videos with attack with drones from trucks, people, civilians began searching for these trucks all over the entire territory of the Russian Federation and destroying them. So in this video we can see how civilians in the Irkutsk region, when they noticed those drones that were attacking Russian airfields, began attack these trucks, trying to destroy Ukrainian drones that were trying to attack Russian territory. Obviously that was very dangerous because these trucks could explode anytime, and those drones have real arms that could also explode, and all these people could suffer high losses or something like this. Later, we got another very important statement, but this time from the president of Ukraine, Zelensky. Of course, he commented the situation with this, and the most important is that Zelensky confirmed that tomorrow a Ukrainian delegation is going to go to Istanbul with the purpose to have talks with the Russian delegation. I heard reports from the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the General Staff, our intelligence agencies, and the Security Service of Ukraine, our defense, our active actions, and our diplomacy. We are doing everything to protect our independence, our state, and our people. I outlined the tasks for the near term and also defined our position ahead of the meeting in Istanbul on Monday. First, a full of unconditional ceasefire. Second, the release of prisoners. Third, the return of abducted children, and in order to establish a reliable and lasting peace and ensure security, preparation of the meeting at the highest level. The key issues can only be resolved by leaders. On Monday, our delegation will be led by Rustem Umerov, the head of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. So as you can see, Zelensky is ready to have meeting on the territory of Istanbul. The most important thing, and telling the truth, it's very interesting, and obviously the Russians are showing their still will. The Russians didn't cancel the meeting in Istanbul, and according to information we have, the Russians have already sent their delegation as well. So despite this humiliation, despite these losses, the Russians decided to save their blood cold, and they sent their delegation for talks. Tomorrow probably is going to be a very interesting day, and as for now we know that Putin has talks with leaders of different Putin to hold meeting with government members and Security Council session today. Most likely today Putin will make very difficult decisions, because now everybody in Russia are waiting for a strike back from the Russian side. I'm not even sure what exactly the Russians are going to do right now, because the situation is very difficult and critical. And once again, today we got lots of videos how Ukrainians were trying to send all these trucks to different strategical objects of the Russian Federation. So these are the trucks before they were sent deep inside of the territory of Russia. Here we can see lots of drones. Here we can see the trucks themselves, the places where Ukrainians collected all those drones that later attacked the territory of Russia. And during this evening we got lots of videos how regular people, civilians, at least stopped 2 or 3 attacks over the entire territory of Russia and destroyed them. So it's very difficult to imagine how many targets the Ukrainians had in their list. As for the end of the 1st of June, we had just 2 targets, but obviously there were much more targets that Ukrainians were planning to attack, and something tells me that this is not the end and that we are going to see even more. So this is the situation. Let's wait and see what is going to be next. Tomorrow, humiliated Russians will go to Istanbul control, and this is going to be a crazy day. But as for now, let's continue discussion about the situation along the line of combat contact. And first, let's talk about the Sumy region, where the Russians continue their offensive operation, their summer offensive operation. During the previous 24 hours, the Russians destroyed several temporary deployment points of Ukrainian FPV drone operators. One of them was destroyed in the vicinity of the settlement of Voronezh. The second one was destroyed in the vicinity of the settlement of Krolevets. The Ukrainians were using these places, these drones and these operators to attack deep inside of the territory of Russia and to attack the Russian forces in the Sumy region. Furthermore, today we got report that the Russians carry out another Iskander strike in the Dnipro region. We haven't added this map to this video to map, but we will do this later. We will discuss this video tomorrow. But as a result of this attack, the entire probably base camp of Ukrainian units was destroyed, and the head of infantry army of Ukraine he applied for to move him from his position. So we have very powerful strike from the Russians that we will discuss tomorrow, and the losses as well. As for the situation on the ground, the Russians continue their offensive, and during the previous 24 hours, the Russians improved their position significantly in the Sumy region by taking under control additional 3 lines, additional fortifications, and shortening the distance to the Sumy itself. Today, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation confirmed Russian control over Alexeyevka, but now it's very difficult to understand whether the Russians are going to move further. They have problems with logistics. Maybe the Russians would be forced to slow down for several days until the Russians are able to find a solution how to restore logistics, how to restore supply and support of their contingent in the northern part of Ukraine. When talking about the Kharkiv direction, we have another video in the vicinity of the settlement of Chuguyev. Telling the truth, probably since the beginning of May, we got 10 or 15 reports that the Russians attacked the area in the vicinity of Chuguyev with Iskander. And today, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation published this video where, as a result of reconnaissance operation, the Russians discovered another temporary deployment point of FPV drone operators. And as a result of attack, this base was destroyed. Ukrainians lost lots of drone launching systems and up to 30 drones themselves. Now let's discuss the situation along the line of combat contact. And the most interesting updates are coming from the Sivers direction, where the Russians, after a very long operational pause, resumed their offensive operation. But this time, as you can see, the Russians are advancing from the southeast of the city of Siversk, not from the east and not from the northeast. During the previous 24 hours, we got lots of icons exactly from this area. This is the first video that was published by the Russians today, and here we can see how a Russian soldier raised the Russian flag on the village, in the area of the village of Ivanodarivka. And this video confirms Russian control over this territory. Later we got another video a bit to the north, and here we can see how another Russian soldier dropped some explosive on the territory of Ukrainian stronghold and began running away towards the safe place, and then there was a very heavy explosion. This video confirms that the Russians established complete control over this tree line, and based on this video we have adjusted the map. So the Russians are advancing to the north of Ivanodarivka, and most likely with the purpose to restore control or to establish control over this road, the road between the village of Ivanodarivka and the settlement of Verkhnykamenska. Today the Russians have already carried out artillery preparation and artillery attacks on these positions of the armed forces of Ukraine. Lots of positions were damaged and destroyed, and most likely during the next days the Russians will continue the ground operation as well. Furthermore, we had lots of videos from to the south of the city of Siversk along the railways from Vyivka to Siversk. Here we can see how the Russians were bombing and attacking positions of the armed forces of Ukraine. Most likely during the next 48 hours the Russians will try to attack the city of Siversk from the south. So the Russians will try to do something like this and to shorten the distance to the southern outskirts of the Siversk agglomeration itself. Now let's talk about the Konstantinovka direction. As for the previous 24 hours, the main updates we got from the area of the southeastern pocket along the Seversky Donetsk-Donbass canal. Today's Russian sources published this video, and in this video we can see how several Russian soldiers captured this building, captured this part of the village of North Andelivka, and raised the Russian flag and the flag of the unit that was responsible, that was involved in the offensive operation in this direction. Based on this video, most of the mappers suggested the southern part of the Delivka and the territory to the south of the settlement, and later we got additional details from several pro-Russian resources that the Russians both captured the village and managed to move even further. This information was confirmed by several pro-Russian resources. So as for the end of this 1st of June of 2025, according to different sources, the Russians established complete control over this territory. If this information is correct, if the Russians indeed took under complete control all these territories, this means that the situation for the armed forces of Ukraine who are currently located in this pocket has immediately become, let's say, critical. Now they need to retreat from this pocket, otherwise the Ukrainians would be caught in cauldron. So we are waiting for additional updates, but most likely in the very near future the Ukrainians will begin evacuation from this territory once again, otherwise the Ukrainians would be caught in cauldron by the Russians who are advancing from the south. So the situation in this direction is also very critical. When talking about the Kliban-Byksky direction, during the previous 24 hours we haven't received anything special, and we see that most likely the situation was stabilized. Either the situation was stabilized or the Russians are regrouping right now before the beginning of another wave of offensive operation. The Ukrainians had reminded you during the previous days redeployed lots of units in this area, and most likely this is the reason why the Russians are in the post right now. It's very interesting when the Russians are going to resume their offensive. When talking about the South Donetsk direction, we haven't received almost anything from this area as well. The Russians continue bombing and attacking Ukrainian positions that the Russians are planning to attack in the very near future. This video we got from the village of Kamar, and in this video we can see how the Russians were reducing to ruins the village of Kamar. We expect the beginning of Russian offensive in the very near future. As for the Zaporozhye direction, during the previous 24 hours, according to information we have, the Russians destroyed the main bridge in the city of Orekhov. But if you remember, yesterday the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Syrsky, reported that the Russians began their offensive operation in the Zaporozhye direction. But as for the end of the 1st of June of 2025, we haven't received anything that can confirm the beginning of Russian offensive. When talking about the Kherson direction, during the previous 24 hours, the Russians continue bombing and attacking positions of the armed forces of Ukraine using missiles and bombs with the purpose to destroy as many as possible FPV drone positions and operators. So tomorrow the negotiation process in Istanbul will continue. The Russians and the Ukrainians both send their delegations. Obviously tomorrow is going to be a very hot day. And that's it for today. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching, subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.